Hi everybody, this is Mr. Blay. We're doing a video today on parallel and perpendicular slopes. I've been getting a lot of requests from some of you that parallel and perpendicular slopes are giving you guys some trouble, or you're having issues with the equations on parallel and perpendicular slopes. So I'm going to go through a couple of the questions that you guys will probably run into, whether on the IXL section or on the upcoming mini quiz that you're going to have. So these are actually a couple questions straight from S25. So this one here says line R has a slope of 7/5. Line S is parallel to line R. So what is the slope of line S? So all they're doing is they're giving you one slope of a line, and they're just telling you this other line is parallel to it. Okay? So in order to answer this question, you need to know what the relationship is between slopes of parallel lines. So any parallel lines will always have the exact same slope. As long as you can remember this simple rule, parallel lines are usually a pretty easy concept. So if you're dealing with line S and line R, and the problem is telling you that they're parallel, the slope of line R is 7/5, so the slope of line S is also 7/5. And that is the entirety of the problem. That is as difficult as parallel lines are going to get. If you know the slope of one line, the parallel slope is exactly the same as the original line. All right, so to give you another example, the perpendicular line, you guys can see this question here. So this one is set up a little bit differently. It says that there's an equation for line B, which is y equals 7/4 x plus 1/3. It says this other line, line C, is perpendicular to the first one. So what is the slope of line C? So in this particular case, you need to know about perpendicular slopes. So when you're dealing with perpendicular slopes, you are not going to be dealing with the same slope like you were with parallel. So for perpendicular, what you're always going to do for a perpendicular slope is you are going to flip the fraction over, or flip the number over, and then you are also going to change the sign that you're dealing with. Okay, so again, that basically means if you're dealing with a positive, that means you change it to a negative, and if you're dealing with a negative, you're going to change it to a positive. So you flip it, and then you change the sign. So what you have to understand with this equation up here, this is a y equals mx plus b equation. We have worked with these for a couple months now. So at this point, we should all know that the m value here is our slope. So they told us in this case that the line has a slope of 7/4. And we are going to try to take 7/4 and we're going to turn it into a perpendicular slope. So again, according to the rules here, I should flip it over. All right, so if I flip it, instead of 7/4, I will get 4/7. And if I do the second step, which is changing the sign, since this one over here was positive, I need to make this one over here negative. So you have negative 4/7. All right, that is the entirety of a perpendicular slope. Take your starting slope, flip it over, and then change the sign that's out in front. All right, so we'll do two more examples. So this one here set up a little bit differently because in this case, they didn't give us an equation. So this one here, they gave us 2 points. It says this is line T, passes through these 2 points. Line U is parallel. What's the slope of line U? Now again, with parallel slopes, it means they are essentially the same slope. So if I can figure out the slope of one of the lines, I can figure out the slope of the other line. Okay. So we've worked with this before. When you have 2 points and you want to find the slopes, you always use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? And again, these points here, this is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. Okay? So you're basically just going to take those 4 numbers and you're going to plug them into the appropriate locations down here. So that way, if you know this slope, you'll also know the slope of the other line because they're parallel. All right, so on the top, your 2 y values are 6 and 10. So you'll put in 6 minus 10. Your two x values are 10 and 1. So you put in 10 and 1, okay? Subtract carefully. So you get 6 minus 10 is negative 4, and 10 minus 1 is 9. So this is actually the slope of the line, which is negative 4/9. Now again, keep in mind, that's line T, but since they're parallel, that is also the slope of line U. So this is the slope for lines U and T.